I never expected a millionaire to stumble into my life, but when I mistook him for a burglar, my world transformed in an instant. I can still feel the icy grip of fear that squeezed my chest that night. The wind howled outside, rattling the window panes, as I sat at my kitchen table. A soft flicker of candlelight danced around me. I thought I was alone, but the shadow lurking behind the curtains whispered otherwise. That it was just past midnight when I heard the distinct sound of metal scraping against the floor. My heart raced, pounding against my ribs like a caged animal desperate to escape. I clenched my trembling hands around the edge of the table, cold ceramic digging into my palms. Everything went still. No cars outside. No leaves rustling. Just the sound of my heartbeat, quicker and louder. That I stood there, frozen, peering into the dark. That's when I saw him, tall and imposing, with an aura of mystery that sent chills down my spine. I imagined a man in a black ski mask slipping away with my possessions. But where was his mask? I blinked, focusing harder. Was that a tailored suit I saw glinting in the candlelight? No burglar looked like that. Who are you? I croaked, my voice hardly a whisper, trembling with panic. The man turned sharply, and in that moment, his eyes locked onto mine. They were a piercing blue, like summer skies, filled with an unsettling mixture of confusion and amusement. Are you serious right now? He asked, the hint of laughter in his tone. I squinted, still not willing to drop my guard. Why was he so calm? My mind raced with possibilities. Was he dangerous? Did he have a weapon? I remembered my brother's warnings about the city, how robbery was on the rise. But what if I was wrong? What if he was just lost? The tension in my shoulders eased slightly, but my heart refused to listen. I didn't realize I was backing away until I bumped against the counter, sending a vase crashing to the floor. It shattered, and my breath hitched. Please, I'll call the cops. I stammered, fumbling for my phone in my pocket. But as I reached for it, my mind buzzed with something else. The way he surveyed my kitchen. The way he seemed to appreciate the mismatched decor, the haphazard piles of bills, the evidence of my strife. It was as if he was examining a painting, not plotting a heist. Stop, wait. He said, raising his hand like a peace offering. I'm not here to hurt you. I need your help. I blinked, my brain struggling to process his words. Help? From a man who looked like he owned half the city. I could barely afford groceries. But before I could respond, he stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. His dark hair fell just above his brows, framing that chiseled jawline. He didn't seem out of place in my tiny kitchen, though he surely belonged to lavish ballrooms and high-stakes deals. The air crackled with questions, fear, and a flicker of intrigue. Who was he really? What did he need from me? Before I could ask anything, his expression shifted. A shadow crossed his face, and for a brief second, the man I thought was a burglar looked haunted. I felt it too, like something heavy had blinked into existence between us. Listen, he said, his voice lower, more urgent. If you don't help me, you could be in danger. A million thoughts whirled in my mind. Was this a ploy? Was I being drawn into some dangerous game? My breath quickened again as uncertainty clawed at my throat. He took another step forward, desperation in his eyes. Trust me. Please. I don't have much time. And then, before I knew it, the kitchen door swung open behind him, light flooding in, illuminating everything. A scene that was about to change our lives forever. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The door swung open to reveal a narrow beam of light cutting into the darkness, illuminating our tense standoff. I caught a glimpse of the figure in the doorway, a young woman, her hair falling in disheveled waves over one shoulder. Her eyes narrowed at me, flicking back and forth between the stranger and me, confusion etched across her face. "Who are you?" she asked, stepping into the kitchen. I was too stunned to respond, bolting between mounting fears and my instincts to defend myself. The intrigue I felt moments ago dissipated, replaced by alarm. The man beside me remained poised, his gaze unwavering, as though he were the steadfast captain of a ship caught in a storm that I started, but he stepped forward, silencing me with his presence. "Diana, this is not what it seems," he said, but I barely registered his words. The fear in my heart turned into a frenzy, twisting my stomach. I had been alone for so long, and now I felt more vulnerable than ever, standing in my unremarkable kitchen as chaos closed in. "Stay away from her," the woman warned, her voice quivering slightly but carrying weight. "I don't know who you are, but I won't let you hurt her." Her resolve ignited a flicker of courage in me. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. "Please, listen," the man said again, and the urgency in his tone sent chills down my spine. "All I need is a moment to explain. Why should I believe anything you say?" I replied, my voice trembling as I finally found my strength. The woman beside me looked ready to spring into action, ready to protect me, and it was comforting even amid the uncertainty. "What if I told you that your lives are interconnected in ways you couldn't possibly imagine?" he challenged. His confidence hung heavy in the air, mingling with confusion and disbelief, creating a cocktail of tension that threatened to spill over. The candle flickered wildly, casting dancing shadows across the walls, and just for a moment, applause erupted in my mind's theater. What did he mean? How could two lives like ours possibly connect in this dark moment? "Diana, I know your past," he continued, his voice low, almost pleading. "And your brother's involved in something dangerous. He's in trouble, and the wrong people are looking for you to find him." The breath caught in my throat as I processed his words, memories flooding back uninvited, my brother's warnings, the trophies he'd amassed in a world of shadows and privilege. I had always admired his confidence, but now fear seeped in like a thief in the night. "How do you know my brother?" I asked, the words barely escaping my lips. "Because he's the reason I'm here." The muscles in his jaw tightened, his eyes revealing more than he let on. It was like I was suddenly thrust into a movie script I had never auditioned for. My heart raced as new questions took root. The woman at my side stiffened, her expression shifting from fierce protector to a hesitant ally. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice steadier than mine. Before he could answer, the sharp sound of a metal object clattering to the floor echoed outside the kitchen door, and we all turned our heads toward the sound, an unspoken consensus settling like a fog around us. "Is someone out there?" I whispered, my heart pounding as I felt the room close in. "Shadows growing longer and darker. "That we have to go now," he said, eyes darting towards the door. The calm demeanor I had initially questioned was now laden with urgency and fear. "What about my brother?" I asked, caught between the unknown motives of this wealthy stranger and my desperate wish to protect my family. The burden settled heavier on my heart. "He's alive," the man said, his voice a whisper but filled with conviction, "but we need to figure out how to keep him that way." Without waiting for an answer, he stepped toward me, an unlikely blend of desperation and authority. "Please, Diana, let me help you. We have no time." The world around us blurred as I stood torn between fear and the flicker of hope he sparked. My heart beat erratically, pounding not only for my brother but for the small part of me that longed for something greater than this mundane life of worry and survival. But just before I could respond, the door slammed open fully, and a shadowy figure stepped in, silhouetted against the harsh light me nightmares made flesh. "Get away from her!" the newcomer shouted, and the panic that settled in my chest twisted dangerously at the edges of my sanity. In that moment, I realized the course of my life was about to shift irreversibly, and I was left standing at the precipice of a dangerous unknown, grasping at fragments of trust that could either save or shatter everything I held dear. The light from the hallway poured in, revealing the menacing figure before us. My pulse thudded in my ears, and for the briefest instant, I felt suspended in time as I took in the sight a face I recognized, but one twisted by anger and caustic shadows. It was Mark, the one person I never thought would step foot in my home again. "Mark. What are you doing here?" I shouted, my voice cracking as the illusion of safety crumbled around me. "Is this him?" He seethed, storming into the room like a tempest unleashed. "You're with this man? After everything? You really have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." I glanced at the stranger beside me. We were both wide-eyed, drenched in hostility. "Mark, please," I pleaded, desperation flowing through every syllable. "You don't understand." "No, I understand perfectly," he interrupted, his words dripping with venom. "You think you can just play house with a criminal and everything will be fine? Do you think this is a game?" "Enough," the stranger said, stepping protectively in front of me. "You won't threaten her." The air crackled between them as they stood toe-to-toe, two forces of nature locked in a standoff, and I felt trapped between the escalating chaos within my own home. "Stay out of this," Mark barked. "You don't even know what you're dealing with, do you? This man is wrapped up in your brother's mess, and you're standing out here playing the part of the hero. Diana's brother is in trouble, and she has a right to know." He shot back, his voice rising. "I'm trying to protect her. The question is, are you?" The words slashed through the tension like a knife, sharp and undeniable. I took a shaky breath, my heart pounding for reasons far beyond the immediate danger. "What do you know about my brother?" I asked Mark, trying to regain control of the spiraling situation. "The question isn't what I know, it's what you've been kept in the dark about," he spat, eyes darting between us. "He's involved with people who aren't just dangerous, they're lethal. And this guy," he gestured toward the stranger, "could be the one leading them straight to you." A swell of helplessness washed over me, enticing despair to lock its grip. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. "No, this can't be happening. He can't be involved with them." "My brother," I faltered, trying to reconcile the image of the brother I loved with the notion that he was playing a game far beyond what I understood. "That I have to believe he's still out there, trying to protect me," I murmured, my voice trembling as I clutched the edge of the counter for balance. A flicker of uncertainty threatened to engulf me. "Tell me there's a chance." The stranger, watching me closely, stepped forward. "Diana, I promise you, if we don't act now, you'll lose more than just your brother. We have to move." Mark scoffed, disbelief etching deeper lines across his brow. "You think any of this is going to help? You'll just put a bigger target on your back. Better than staying here waiting to become a casualty of someone else's war," the stranger replied, his voice carrying an edge of desperation mixed with fierce determination. A sudden crash resounded in the distance, reverberating through the house. My heart soared to my throat, and I could feel the walls of my sanity begin to teeter. "What was that?" "Diana, I can't protect you if you don't trust me to help," the stranger urged, desperation now laced with sincerity. I caught a glimpse of the fear in Mark's eyes, an emotion I hadn't registered in years. It caught me off guard and ignited a twinge of compassion, a momentary distraction from my own turmoil. "You care about me enough to come here?" I asked quietly, searching his expression. "Of course I care." Mark snapped defensively, shaking his head before softening slightly. "But this isn't the time. It's never the time. You're in way over your head, and the sooner you realize this isn't about just you, the better." I stood at the crossroads of uncertainty, faced with the conflicting realities of my life. Panic flashed as a realization struck me with its cold grip. If my brother's in trouble, then I can't just leave him. Amidst the chaos, I felt an unexpected pulse of hope, the glimmer of unity in this mess, a shared determination to find my brother and uncover the shadows of his world, a world that now felt closer than ever but also farther away, hidden behind the weight of choices I had yet to make. Suddenly, a muffled voice called from outside, jarring me. "Diana. Is that you?" It was low and urgent but wholly familiar. My heart raced. "Me brother. He was alive, he was here." "No!" I shouted, instinctively grasping the stranger's arm as I faced Mark. Help me, please. We can't let him be found out there, but as I turned to face the door, I realized fear had infiltrated my instincts, shrouding my brother's figure in darkness. The memory of his last words haunted me. Anger lurked everywhere, and I had unknowingly walked into the storm. With every heartbeat echoing in my ears, I fought against the gravity pulling me back, fighting for a connection I wasn't ready to lose. It was time to step into the darkness, whether I faced it alone or with these unlikely allies, and the ground beneath me shifted, leaving me teetering on the edge of a moment I couldn't escape. The moment stretched into an eternity as I hesitated in front of the door, my thoughts battling each other like errant waves crashing against a cliff. Mark was still standing there, eyes wide but filled with an urgency that demanded action. Did I really have a choice? The voice calling my name outside held the trepidation of someone who had seen the edge of desperation aliveness amidst an ever-looming threat. Diana. The urgency behind that voice gave life to the fear twisting in my chest. I twisted towards Mark. This is your chance, isn't it? To redeem yourself and show that you care. Help me bring him in, and what does that do? Ensure your family gets thrown into a deeper mess. Mark hissed, but I could see the conflict in his eyes. The bitterness was slowly transforming into something softer, perhaps guided by the rush of adrenaline or an old bond rekindled at the sight of me in danger. Enough. The stranger shouted. His voice surged with authority, grounding us with unwavering resolve. Diana, we need to move. Right now. If your brother's out there, he's not just in trouble, he's being hunted. The world outside remained silent while chaos unfolded within. I could feel the pull of the door, the weight of the decision weighing heavily on my chest like a stone ready to drown me. I had to choose: stay safe behind these walls or reach for the chance of saving my brother, even if it meant stepping into darkness head first. That I can't abandon him, I said finally, my voice steadying. I looked at Mark, seeking a glimmer of reassurance. You know that better than anyone. Help me, and maybe just maybe you can help each other. The sincerity in my voice broke through whatever defensive armor he had tried to maintain. That I stepped towards the door, the stranger at my side, ready to face whatever danger lay ahead. I looked back, willing Mark to step forward. You're not going to let me face this alone, are you? My heartbeat thundered in my ears, overshadowing Mark's hesitation. And then, just for a moment, I saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes, the thought that perhaps this was his chance to reclaim the bond we once held so close. Fine, he relented, stepping forward with a defeated sigh and a hint of warmth flashing across his features. But don't expect me to save you if things go sideways. Deal, I replied, a rush of gratitude washing over me despite the looming apprehension. The two of us moved towards the door, with the stranger behind us forming a wall of protection. I reached for the knob, heart thumping, when one thought struck me. What if it's not just my brother out there? Turn back if you have doubts, the stranger said quietly, sensing my unease. But if he's been targeted, we might end up in a fray bigger than any of us could imagine. No. I need to face this, not just for him, for us. For our family. I pushed the door open, the faint glow of the streetlight flooding in, illuminating the darkened corners of my uncertainty. There he stood, drenched and shaking, face taut with fear. My brother, alive and breathing, yet the storm swirling around him threatened to rip the very essence of who he was apart. Diana. His cry felt like both a salvation and a scream for help, reverberating in the night. Hold on. I called out, and in that moment, I wasn't just reaching for him. I was grasping at the fraying threads of hope that the world around us could be stitched together again, but as I lunged forward, ready to yank him to safety, I felt an icy pressure against my back, a rush of dread dancing along my spine. Mark had gone pale, more than just fear etching deeper lines into his features. Diana, behind you. He shouted, a guttural warning that snapped me back. In an instant, I instinctively spun around, eyes locking onto the shadow creeping closer, a foreboding figure emerging from the cloak of night. The glint of metal caught my gaze, and my breath hitched. No, I whispered, the adrenaline-fueled realization crashing into me like a tidal wave. The threat was real and closing in fast, and this was far from over. Before I could move, the figure lunged, and with that Singular moment, everything spiraled into chaos, stitches threatening to unravel, and the very bonds that tethered my hope shattered into empty shards scattering across the void. As the figure lunged, time stretched, and the world felt suspended in that split second where I could either run back or charge forward to protect what mattered most. A rush of instinct propelled me to shield my brother, shoving him behind me as I took a step closer to the direction of the threat. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, igniting a fire I didn't know I possessed. "Get behind me!" I shouted, struggling to keep my voice steady despite the rising panic. I could sense Mark moving closer, positioning himself beside me as we formed a desperate barrier against the unknown. There was an unexpected strength in his resolve. They say fear can unify or separate, and right now, it was merging our intentions into one burning goal. The figure halted mere feet away, a hood obscuring his face, the metal reflecting moonlight dancing dangerously in his grip. "You shouldn't have come out, Diana," he growled, his voice a harsh whisper that sent chills creeping up my spine. "You know my name?" I shot back, my mind racing as I frantically searched for any hint of recognition. "Who are you? What do you want?" With a glinting blade in hand, he stepped forward, a malicious smile lurking in the shadows. "Your family's secrets have a way of finding you. You think you can save him? You won't be able to save anyone." The words landed like stones, heavy and suffocating. My brother, still trembling behind me, let out a pained gasp. "Diana, please don't confront him. Just go back inside." His pleading cut through my heart, an echo of vulnerability that I wasn't ready to face. In that moment of sheer terror, an unexpected warmth surged from Mark's side, encircling me like a protective shield. "We're not going anywhere," he replied, his voice steady, the tension crackling in the night air. "If you think we'll let you take her without a fight, you're sorely mistaken." Just as fear swirled around us like a tangible fog, it was pierced by a sudden sound that jolted us all. Sirens, faint at first, but growing steadily louder. The figure's confident demeanor faltered for a heartbeat, eyes darting with uncertainty. "This isn't over," he spat, backing away as if sensing a change in the tides. And then he was gone, disappearing into the shadows that had birthed him, leaving behind nothing but uncertainty. I stood there, heart racing, eyes lost in the dark where he had been, a myriad of questions swirling within me. What did he mean by secrets? What was out there waiting for us to discover? I turned back to face my brother, who had finally stepped closer, the warmth of his presence grounding me. "Oh God, I thought I lost you," I breathed, pulling him into a tight embrace. I could feel the tremors of fear still coursing through him. "I'm so sorry, Alex. I should have done something sooner." "It's okay, Dee," he whispered, his voice shaky, but the moment was healing, if only just for an instant. "What do we do now?" Before I could respond, Mark stepped closer. "Well, find the answers together. We need to stick together, our safety depends on it. But we have to move, the police will be here any moment." Amidst my swirling uncertainty, there was a sense of hope that flickered between us, a fragile thread binding our fates as we approached this new juncture together. But just as we began to back away from the door, I heard a whisper in the wind. A familiar voice. Diana. Confusion washed over me, and I spun around, my heart dropping at the sight of a figure emerging from the shadows at the edge of the street, someone I was certain I knew. The silhouette stepped into the light, and the world collapsed around me. "Peter!" I gasped. My childhood friend, the boy who had once been my safe haven, stood before us, bloodied and battered, his gaze frantic. "I thought you were dead." The revelation felt like a fresh wound, reopening a past I thought was buried, a ghost I'd tried to forget. "What happened? Why are you here?" The question trembled on my lips, laden with a dawning fear that the darkness of the night was only beginning to unveil its true face. His breaths came fast, eyes flicking between my brother and Mark. "There's no time. They're coming for all of us." My heart clenched, and I could feel the weight of our reality crashing down around us. Secrets, shadows, and now Peter, back from the brink. The pieces were falling into place but only leading to a deeper labyrinth of uncertainty. "Who's coming, Peter?" Mark questioned, his voice low and steady, though it didn't escape my notice that he had shifted slightly in front of me. But before he could answer, the wail of sirens crescendoed around us, piercing the tension in the air. I could feel darkness breathing down our necks, inching closer with each heartbeat, and then I understood, the fight was just beginning. The moon hung high, a solitary witness to the chaos that twisted like vines around us. Peter's face, streaked with dirt and glistening crimson, echoed my uncertainties as the siren's wails enveloped my senses. Every ounce of warmth that had flickered in the moment following the unseen man's threat felt distant, caught somewhere in the churning winds of dread. "Diana," Peter whispered, and the weight of that single word loomed over me. It was laced with fear, his fear, but also a stark realization of our past entwined with our present. "There's something you need to know. The night I disappeared, it was because of them." "Who are they?" Mark pressed, his shoulder tightening against mine, a silent invitation to lean on his steadiness amidst my rushing emotions. "That I can't explain everything now," Peter said, glancing nervously over his shoulder, as if shadows themselves were gathering to listen in. "You have to trust me. I need you to get out of here. We can't let them find you. Their sights are set on your family. They're coming for you." "Diana, why would anyone want to hurt my family?" I asked, incredulity mixing with the rising tide of fear swelling in my chest. The shadows danced uneasily, the air vibrating with an intensity that seemed almost alive. He hesitated, brow furrowed, holding back pieces of his truth as if they were knotted in his throat. "Your father," he finally uttered, the name heavy as lead. "He made enemies. Dark ones. And the secrets he's kept, they've made you a target." A storm of realization churned within me, but amidst it, one thought bloomed with clarity. "Wait, how do you know about my father?" "Peter, you were supposed to be gone." I thought I'd lost you forever." "I know." His voice was raw, eyes glassy as memories danced behind them. "And I thought I'd lost you too. But the moment I got wind of the danger heading your way, I had to come back. Time is not on our side." Alex took a step toward Peter, his voice trembling yet assertive. "I don't care what it takes. Just tell us what we need to do." The sirens grew louder, a cacophony beckoning us toward the decision of safety or confrontation. "We can't stay here. We have to find somewhere safe to talk," Peter urged, eyes darting with urgency. "They will search for me, and if they find you alongside me." His voice trailed off, leaving the implication hanging heavy between us. Before I could respond, a flash of headlights pierced the darkness ahead, their beams sweeping across the street. Panic solidified in the pit of my stomach as I clenched my fists. "We have to move. Now." In a frenzied burst, we rushed toward a nearby alley, the shadows swallowing us whole. It was dark and cramped, the air thick with the scent of damp concrete, but in that moment, it was our sanctuary. We pressed against a wall, hearts pounding like war drums in the quiet around us. The headlights from the vehicle bore down on our original spot. Peter turned to face me, urgency written in the lines of his face. "Diana, listen. They believe I know everything about your father's secrets, and if they get their hands on me, they will hurt you to get to that information. Your dad, he might be the only chance we have to understand why this is happening. Why won't he just tell me?" I whispered, despair creeping into my voice. The night felt thick with unanswered questions and shadows that lurked just beyond the edges of our small world. "Because he's afraid," Alex piped in, eyes wide. "If Peter's right, then whatever secrets are left could destroy him." It was a possibility that spiraled in my mind, leaving behind trails of doubt and fear. But how do we face this? How do we confront something we don't even understand? In that moment, Peter reached out, grasping my shoulders as he leaned closer, intense and earnest. "We face it together. The only way out is to dig deep. There are people who will help us, but we have to act fast." Just as hope flickered in the corner of my heart, the chorus of sirens converged just outside the alley. The sound was an inescapable reminder that safety was fleeting. We huddled close, hearts hammering, holding on to strength we barely understood, and then, as we braced ourselves for the storm, I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. A figure emerged from the darkness, fighting against the instinctive sensation of dread curling around my spine. "You're not safe here," a voice murmured from the shadows that I stilled, dread washing over me anew as I recognized the figure stepping forward, illuminated momentarily by the flickering streetlights. It was someone I never expected to see again, someone who carried secrets of their own. "Diane," the figure said softly, and my breath hitched in my throat. "It's time for the truth, and you're going to wish you were still in the dark." The air shifted, a weight hung heavy as recognition coursed through my veins. Lily Harper stood before me, her presence both an anchor and a tempest swirling within me. I had thought my best friend had vanished into a world of wealth and connections, blissfully unaware of the dangers engulfing my life. But now, here she was, draped in shadows adorned with secrets, her eyes darting between my face and the others in search of some assurance. "What are you doing here, Lily?" I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. Anxiety colored my throat with an uncomfortable tightness, equal parts relief and confusion. How could she have infiltrated this world of chaos? "I came looking for you," she replied, glancing warily around us, the sirens continuing to wail like a backdrop to our uncertainty. "I heard something whispers about your family. I didn't know it was this bad." Her gaze shifted to Peter, then to Mark and Alex, each of their faces illuminated by the low light filtering through the alley's entrance. It was a tableau of misfortune, drawing a stark line between our lives and the insidious danger lurking outside. "Did you bring help?" Peter asked urgently, trying to keep our newfound sanctuary from fragmenting into panic. "They'll be coming soon," she said hastily. "My family, they're entrenched in this, it goes deeper than I thought." The tremor in her voice reaffirmed the old friendship we had nearly lost, but she was an outsider now, entangled in layers of wealth and influence that matched the chaos we faced. "Diana, I swear, I didn't know." But the truth, as she spoke, my mind flared with questions I was terrified to voice. What terrible truths did she carry? What would it cost us to uncover them? The camaraderie we shared felt like gossamer stretched thin, frail against the encroaching storm. "Your father has been part of something larger, something dark. They think he's hiding information, and they won't stop until they get what they want." My heart plummeted, the very foundation of my understanding shattered into shards. "What do you mean?" "Your father was involved in a deal, a transaction that went wrong. He was supposed to deliver certain documents, but they never reached their destination. They think he's trying to cover it up. Whatever it involves threatens lives. Yours included." The words clawed at my insides, reality crashing down around me. Betrayal twisted like a knife in my chest. How could my father have built his empire on such fragile foundations? "You don't know my father." I sputtered, but the overwhelming doubts gnawed at my heart. "I know enough," Lily countered, pain flickering across her features. "He didn't trust me to keep you safe. I tried to warn him, but he wouldn't listen. He felt like there were things he needed to shield me from," I interjected, fists clenched, memories surfacing me. Dad's guarded nature, the ways he watched over me like I was porcelain. But he didn't consider that keeping secrets can hurt more than protecting. "This is all his fault, Diana." Mark urged gently, pulling me back from the precipice of anger. "We need to focus on what we can do now. We can't let the past corrupt our future. We need to find the truth, unravel your father's lies." "He's not just lying," I whispered, my heart crumbling as despair conquered my anger. "He's endangering us all." With urgency igniting the air, I turned back to Lily, who looked torn between obligation and fear. "How can we stop them? They won't stop. But if we get ahead of them, we can turn the tables." She gripped my hands tightly, her eyes ablaze with desperation. "I can introduce you to some contact who knows more about this than anyone else. But we need to act fast." Silence enveloped us for a heartbeat, pulsating with threads of hope tangled against an oppressive darkness. As we exchanged glances, each of us reading the urgency swirling in the other's spirits, I felt a flicker of agency. Maybe, just maybe, we could outperform the specter of betrayal that loomed over our heads. But then a sudden crack of laughter echoed around the corner, taunting, menacing, closer than it should have been. Hearts in our throats, we turned as shadows trickled into the alley's mouth. Dark figures emerged, their intentions clear. Peter was quick. He pulled Lily and me closer, shielding us, while Mark and Alex fanned out, muscles tense, ready for confrontation. "We have to go now." But in the swirling chaos, a sudden shout cut through the air. Diana. Peter. A new voice, familiar yet sharp, sliced through the storm looming around us that I turned as a figure stepped into the fading light, jagged shadows lining their jaw. My breath caught as my worst fears crystallized into reality. My father stood at the alley's entrance, face drawn, eyes darting with panic fear I had never seen before etched deep into his features. Suddenly the ground shifted beneath our feet as the truth crashed upon us. The greatest danger of all loomed closer than I had ever imagined. I had to decide, would I run back to the very man I felt betrayed me, or delve deeper into this dark mystery where every choice could lead to salvation or annihilation? Diana, listen to me. He called, voice cutting through the darkness that threatened to consume us all, drawing lines in the sands of trust and betrayal. And in that moment, everything about my life spun on the edge of revelation. The moment stretched, an unbearable tension tangling in the air, weaving around us like a viper preparing to strike. My father's presence ignited a whirlpool of emotions I could scarcely comprehend: confusion, fear, the sharp pang of betrayal. What are you doing here? I spat, my voice trembling even as it rose to match the panic swirling in my chest. That I came to find you. He shouted, his gaze darting over us, noting the unfamiliar faces. I thought you were in danger. It's not safe. For a fleeting moment, the hard exterior of my father cracked, revealing a feverish concern I rarely glimpsed. But the weight of his past would not let me forget the distance he had placed between us, one tethered by secrets and silenced. Safe? You think this is safe? I retorted, feeling a bitter coldness settle deep within me. With everything you've kept from me? With what's happening? You're the one who put me in danger. Mark's grip on my shoulder tightened, but it felt like a flimsy shield against the rising tide of inquiries. It's complicated, he replied, searching my face for understanding but finding only fury. I was trying to keep you out of this. I thought I was protecting you, protecting me. Anger blazed in my heart. You made a choice, and this is what it cost us. Do you even know who's after us? I turned to Lily, seeking reassurance, finding her expression caught between fear and an unexpected glimmer of hope. Well, does he? Lily interjected, taking my insecurities and pouring them into a single question. What do you know? Because we're in this together now. It's not just your life that's at stake. For a moment, I watched my father wrestle with his layered realities. The alley seemed to contract with intrigue, shadows flanking us as if tightening a noose. You don't understand what I've been involved in. If they find out I'm here, he faltered, a boy caught on the precipice of a luge, unsure whether to slide backward or plunge ahead. They're already here. Alex finally spoke up, his usually calm demeanor edged with unease as the familiar laughter echoed ominously from further away. We don't have time for half-truths. My father straightened, the tension coiling in him snapping like a taut string. We need to move. They are hunting for you because of what I did. You have to trust me, Diana. I wouldn't be here unless it was life or death. The echo of my heart drummed dully in my ears as doubt clouded my thinking. Trust? How could I trust him when he stood in the heart of this storm, a man whose choices had brought us to the brink? But amidst the chaos, Lily stepped to stand beside me, her support unwavering. Diana, there's power in choosing to trust again. We can't fight unless we align, she urged softly, her vulnerability striking a chord within my own scattered emotions. It was tempting to pull away, run from my father's shadow which felt unbearably long, but a flicker of instinct buzzed beneath the surface. Maybe I needed to harness this moment, to take the power back into my hands, to ignite the embers of hope ignited by her kind words. All right. Tell us what we need to know, I said, steeling my resolve. But a guttural shout shattered our fragile alliance. There they are. The figures swarmed in, dark and menacing like a rising tide of predatory instinct. We're out of time. Peter bellowed, shoving me forward. The narrow alleyway felt like a tight-fitting glove around us, danger squeezing closer. My father surged to the front, signaling us to follow. As we sprinted down the passage, panic flickered in my chest, battling the slow kindling of rebellion. I risked a glance back just as one of the shadows lunged forward, a flash of metal glinting against the dim light. "Keep going," my father shouted, voice filled with conviction. The metallic edge was a knife that could slice through everything we had barely managed to weave together. I glanced again, locking eyes with a figure cloaked in darkness who was now inches away. A rush of adrenaline compelled me into the unknown that we charged through a door that loomed ahead, tumbling into the safety of a secluded warehouse. Suddenly, our breaths mingled, rapid and unsteady, creating an unseen tether between those of us who survived the pursuit and the man who wielded the shadow's secrets that I and the quiet that engulfed us. I met my father's gaze, a shared recognition of the burden we must bear. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice trembling on the edge of fear and determination. "This isn't over," he asserted, and in that moment of his unyielding resolve, I glimpsed the remnants of the father I once knew, embers flickering beneath layers of ash. Darkness encroached on the pale light of truth. The storm wasn't just outside, it raged within our hearts, but just as hope began to take root, a siren's wail echoed through crumbling walls, rattling windows, and our resolve alike. The sound drifted closer and closer, enveloping us in what felt like an inescapable embrace. "They found us," I whispered, dread creeping over my skin like ice, and I knew then, standing amid barely contained chaos, that choices lay ahead, unfurling like threads in a vast, dark tapestry, threatening to pull me deeper into a reality I might never escape. The warehouse was eerily quiet, a thick haze of uncertainty wrapped around us as we huddled against the metal columns. The echo of the sirens chased the shadows into every corner, slicing through the fragile safety we had barely managed to find. I felt the weight of my father's decisions pressing against my chest like a suffocating blanket as I tucked my shaking hands into my pockets, struggling to quell the tempest within me. "What are they doing here?" Mark gasped, eyes wide with fear. "Your father must have brought this upon us." I could feel anger bubbling, rising like a tide, yet I had no outlet for it. All I could do was watch as my father subtly shifted from fear to anger, his posture rigid, almost defensive. "Thereafter something I took from them. Something that you have no idea about, but I swear I never meant for you to get dragged into this," he replied, urgency dripping from every word. Lily stepped closer, her eyes gleaming with a mix of hope and determination. "So tell us. We can help you." It was the wrong thing to say, the plea felt naive, even in that moment. But I couldn't falter, we all needed something to cling to amidst the rising fears. "Help me. You're in danger because of me." His voice broke, identity shifting from the steely facade of a father to the raw vulnerability of a man hunted. It was a glimpse I had never seen before, a man caught in the crossfire of his own poor choices. "What did you take? What's so important?" I demanded, my heart rate escalating as the sirens wailed, now just outside the door. "If it's life or death for you, it has to be for us too." He hesitated, breaking into a heavy silence, the kind that felt jagged against the backdrop of our shared uncertainty. I could see the regret washing over his face, scrubbing away the remnants of the man I had maligned. "It's a document. One they'll do anything to retrieve. It holds evidence of their involvement in things you can't even begin to imagine," he admitted, shame lacing his confession. "What things?" Alex interjected, urgency coloring his tone. "This isn't the time for riddles. You need to be honest with us." Just then, a sound shattered the warehouse's oppressive silence. A loud crash reverberated through the air as something heavy fell against the metal door. "They're coming in," Peter shouted, scrambling to push objects against the entrance, his desperation forming a temporary barricade. "What's the plan?" I yelled, trying to focus despite the cacophony of panic lapping at my mind. We were standing on the precipice of something dark, and I wasn't sure what lay beneath. And why father's eyes flickered back to me, a silent plea hiding behind layers of turmoil. "I know I've made mistakes, but if we can just get out, if we can just take the document and get to a safe place, I promise I'll explain everything. How can we trust you?" My voice cracked, scratching against the walls of frustration and betrayal. "You've been lying to me my whole life. Trust is built over time, but right now, the clock is ticking," he said with urgency. "We don't have the luxury of choice." A bolt of fear shot through me as I turned towards the door, wrestling with my thoughts. The metal creaked ominously, and unraveling threads of hope seemed to dwindle with every passing second. The shadowy figures could be mere moments away from breaching our sanctuary. I could feel my heart pounding in rhythm with the throbbing sirens as the dark reality of our circumstances crashed against me. Eager to regain a sense of agency, I stepped forward. What if but my words were abruptly cut off as another loud bang echoed through the room, and suddenly the metal door fractured, splintering under a powerful intrusion. Time slowed. Terror gripped me as I spun around to face the engulfing chaos. The figures poured in clad in black, their eyes scanning the room with ruthless efficiency. My body froze in fear, and I sought refuge in Lily's steadiness as she moved beside me, her duality of strength and hope anchoring me against the tide of uncertainty. Get down. My father roared, pushing us hurriedly behind an industrial machine. My pulse quickened as the darkness loomed closer, the figures now dangerously close to identifying my father, but amidst the chaos, a flicker of unexpected kindness. Emergita's soft voice reverberated through the tension. "We know you're here, Thomas," it called, with an unsettling calmness that sent shivers racing down my spine. My father reacted like a caged animal, glaring at each figure with suppressed fury, his breath coming in sharp, ragged bursts. "They can't know where you are," he muttered, panic threading through him. "If they find you, too, can't let that happen." "Who is Thomas?" I whispered, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. "Is that your real name?" The question lingered, uneasy in the air. The realization that my father had a past cloaked in mistrust and secrecy shook the ground beneath us. The fabric of our lives felt dangerously frayed, bound only by uncertainty and the immediate threat that encircled us. "Just stay close," he pleaded, his eyes flickering between me and the encroaching shadows. "He'll do whatever it takes to protect you, but what if protecting us meant losing part of himself, or worst of all, losing us?" Amid the darkening storm, I felt the winds of fate shift. Just outside, peril loomed, yet within the labyrinth of shadows and secrets, an unearthing was unfolding. Trust hung by a thread, and as the figures advanced, I knew we stood at the threshold of revelations that could shatter or ignite a defiance we had yet to discover. The warehouse held its breath as shadows clawed at the corners, their menacing forms spilling across the concrete floor. My heart thundered in my chest, the sound mingling with the frantic cadence of mounting dread. My father's revelation hung in the air like a blade poised to fall, threatening to sever the fragile threads connecting us. "Diana." A voice whispered from the darkness, but it wasn't just my father's. It was Peter, urgency tight in his tone. "We need a plan. Now." I turned to him, my thoughts racing. "What do we do?" I felt like a ship lost at sea, tossed between despair and a desperate need for clarity. Outside, the night crackled with anticipation as the figures advanced, their determination palpable even through the chaos. "They know we're here," he murmured, his expression grim. "If we can't fight them, we need to escape and find the document. It's the key. My father's gaze shifted towards me as he steeled himself. "Diana, if we can get to the office at the back of the warehouse, we might find a way to safeguard the document." And the sound of boots echoed in the corridor outside, interrupting the rising tension. "We don't have time," Mark shouted, his voice woven with urgency. "We have to move, or we'll be trapped." But I couldn't shake the weight of betrayal that clung to me like a shroud. "You brought this upon us." I shot at my father, my voice trembling with the sharp bitterness of past wounds. "You didn't trust me to make my own decisions, and now we're in this mess because of you." His dark eyes pleaded for understanding. "I did it to protect you. I thought it was better to keep you in the dark than let you get dragged into this." "Kept in the dark?" I echoed, incredulity mixed with the growing crescendo of fear. "You've shielded me from the truth while I stood by you, believing you were someone you weren't." Then, from the distant shadows beyond the door, a voice sliced through the air, smooth, chilling, and alarmingly familiar. "Come out, Thomas. I know you're in there. You can't hide from your past forever." My father flinched, a wave of shame washing over him, and just like that, my resolve transformed into a singular focus. "We can't let them find us," I stated firmly. "No matter what it takes, we're getting through this together." Lily nodded, her voice calming the storm of emotions swirling within me. Diana's right. Whatever lies ahead, we must confront it as a unified front. But first, we need that document. It's our way through this that I have an idea, Peter interjected, his eyes flickering towards an old office desk nestled in the far corner of the room, half shrouded in darkness. If we can create a distraction, we can slip out through the back exit. Then we need to move, fast, I urged, the ticking clock of impending doom echoing in my ears. My father cast a weary glance at me, the weight of his past drawn sharp upon his features. You need to understand, Diana, confrontations of the heart are often muddied with pain and shadows. The loyalty you see amongst us can shatter just as easily. Then don't put me in another position to have to choose, I replied, the raw emotion stinging my voice. Just help us find a way out of here. Just as we began to formulate a plan, the door burst open, and the figures surged into the warehouse. The air shifted as they poured in, dark faces etched with the promise of chaos, eyes sweeping toward us, filled with a predatory hunger. Get down! My father shouted, his hands outstretched, trying to shield us from the oncoming danger. Chaos erupted as I ducked behind the desk, adrenaline surging through me, but in the frenzy, I spotted an old, rusted fire extinguisher propped against the wall. Grabbing it, I felt a surge of determination. With no time left to argue, I turned to the group. Peter, create a distraction. He nodded solemnly, then lunged towards the nearby crates, scattering debris through the air. Now! I screamed, bursting out from behind the desk as the figures shifted, diverted by Peter's sudden interruption. I swung the fire extinguisher hard against the figures approaching us, gas roaring to life in a blinding cloud of white smoke. Move! I shouted at the others as the dense fog enveloped us, concealing our escape from their view. My heart raced as we bolted towards the darkened back exit, Lily also pushing the weight of hope along with us. Hurry! But just as we reached the door, a hand shot out from the shadows, always too close, grabbing my arm. It yanked me back, throwing me to the ground. My world narrowed down to the panic-widened eyes of the figure above me, the shadows folding closely around. Thought you could escape that easily? The figure mocked, a cruel smile playing on their lips. I wanted to scream but couldn't find my voice. The clatter of footsteps reverberated, my mind raced with the possibility of escape, and as fear twisted into my gut, I felt a familiar presence bridging the building chaos. Diana. My father pushed back against the figure, his determination sparking a flash of adrenaline within me. Just as they began to grapple, I found my voice. Help! With renewed strength, I kicked at the figure's knees and sprinted forward again, barreling into the safety of the back exit, leading Alex and the others through the door. I heard my father's voice, a mixture of frustration and fear, urging us on. Get out now! The world exploded around me as we plunged into the moonless night, hearts racing, fueled by the fear of the unknown. As we sprinted into the darkness, the sounds of chaos screamed behind us. We hit the ground running, footsteps pounding against asphalt, a frantic rush for survival. The cool air clutched at my face, fingers dancing along my neck, igniting the fire that surged within, but just when it seemed we had made it out, I glanced back, spotting my father's silhouette struggling to escape the enveloping shadows. No, I breathed, panic clawing at my chest once again. I couldn't leave him behind, had already sacrificed so much for us. A sudden weight slammed into me, propelling me into the cold embrace of reality. It was Mark, gripping my arm with unyielding strength. We need to keep moving, he shouted, eyes wide and fiercely protective. Not without him, I insisted, my heart thudding with determination as tears threatened to spill. I'll stay, Mark replied, his voice taut with urgency. You can't save everyone. But with renewed resolve, I shook my head fiercely. I refuse to abandon anyone again. And with that rallying cry, I broke away from Mark's grasp, rushing back into the chaos, propelled by memories of what had once bonded us together, the love lost amongst layers of deceit and shadows. Diana. My father yelled, his eyes widened by uncertainty, and I saw a flicker of regret that bombarded my heart. You've already sacrificed, but you don't have to take this risk, neither of us has to fight alone. I charged forward, the echoes of rage and fear intertwining with every pulse of adrenaline urging me on. Just before the darkness could swallow him whole, I grasped my father's hand in mine, and in that singular moment, everything fractured and fell into place. The distance created by years of hurt closed in, fear intermingled with love, and too many moments lost to embrace. Let's go. I shouted, pulling him back toward our escape, a wave of triumph surging within me. As we dashed beyond the looming shadows, Peter and Lily rushed to join us, the world stretching wide ahead of us, a chance, a future, unfurling like a fragile bloom in the darkness. But as we neared the threshold of the alley, figures blocked our passage, closing in like a descending storm. My heart raced as each minimum second felt like eternity, and in the midst of chaos, I heard something, the unmistakable sound of sirens blaring in the distance, a single lifeline threading hope through the thick fog of despair pressing against our escape. Hold on. My father urged, eyes scanning the darkness, desperation mixing with the bravery that reverberated in our unity. Over there. Lily pointed, leading us towards a narrow opening between two buildings, illuminated by shards of distant neon light. With urgency coursing through our veins, we darted through the opening. Never look back. I whispered, tightening my grip around my father's hand, refusing to let the shadows consume what remained of our fractured bond. Together, we stumbled into the alley, hearts pounding in rhythm, each step taking us further away from the past and closer to a future uncertain but full of promise. And as the darkness of the night enveloped us, a profound revelation surged through every shaking bray of the promise that love could weather even the fiercest storms. The world ahead blurred, but that singular moment refined itself into clarity. In the shadows of betrayal, hope blossomed once again. This was our fight, a battle against the inner darkness that threatened to rip apart everything we loved. And in the depths of the night, I understood. Sometimes the only way to shine light in a world so steeped in darkness was to expose your own truths, allowing the fragments to weave into something new. As we took our first steps into the unknown, I realized, we're not just running from our past, we're creating a bond unbreakable, echoing the shared strength that would carry us beyond the shadows, that we would face whatever came next together, no matter the cost. It was time to reclaim our lives. And as I glanced back one final time, the shadows melted into the night, dissipating like the fears that threatened to subdivide us, and within that fleeting moment, with hope lighting the path ahead, I whispered to myself, we are our own rescue, and the dawn is yet to come.